Hi, welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, usage of liquefied petroleum gas increases by 4%. We've got details coming up. Also coming up this afternoon on the marketplace, finance expert expresses worry over the rising non-performing loans within the financial sector, calls for robust and efficient credit scoring system.
Let's pull the data together so that before I even go for a credit facility, I'll be directed to go for a credit score. And I'm going to use that credit score as one of my, let's say, my documents to request for the loan.
Last, we examined President-elect John Mohammed's tax policies in our business and politics segment. Details coming up. And thanks for staying with us, everyone. First up, liquefied petroleum gas consumption increased by 4% to reach 317,465 metric tons. According to the 2023 Ghana Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors Industry Report, the surge is attributed to a rebound in economic activities in 2023 after the country suffered a slowdown in activities in 2022. Here's more.
According to the report, Ghana's LPG consumption saw a modest increase of 4% in 2023, rising from 305,076 metric tons to 317,465 metric tons. This growth comes after a challenging 2022 when the rapid depreciation of the cedi led to negative growth in LPG consumption. The significant 86% hike in LPG pump prices forced many Ghanaians to explore alternative energy sources. Despite these challenges, LPG remains the primary cooking fuel for about 40% of Ghana's population. In rural areas, LPG usage increased marginally from 14.8% to 16.5% in 2023, indicating a growing adoption of LPG as a cleaner and more efficient energy source.
All right, let's get a quick reaction. Joining me on phone is Vice Chairman of the LPG Marketing Companies Association of Ghana, Gabriel Kumi. Good afternoon to you. You say the figure looks good on the surface, but does not reflect the situation on the ground.
Yes, good afternoon, Daryl. I think the figures, the growth figures put out by Seaboard is quite misleading. Because if you look at the statistics, in 2020 we did 332,000. In 2021 we did 345,000. This dropped to 305,000 in 2022, and it picked a little bit in 2023 to 317. So if you pick the lowest figures within the lowest consumption within the last 5 years and compare it to what we did in 2023 to say that there is growth in consumption of LPG, I think that is not entirely accurate. Not until we are able to go beyond the 332 or the 345,000 metric tons that we consumed in 2021, I don't think anybody can say firmly that the LPG consumption is on the rise. We have declined. Like I said, 332 2020, 345 2021, and 2023 is 317. So there is no growth actually.
Well, I mean, the high cost of LPG has been one of the reasons that has contributed to the decline in consumption and purchase of the product. We have attributed that to the taxes on LPG. There's a new government in place. Talk to us about whether or not you'd make a push for a review. Already the president has been talking about tax reforms.
Yes, we will straight away. I think this is a call that we have been very, very, very consistent and persistent on. That it does not simply make sense to put taxes on LPG. It doesn't. A product countries like La Côte d'Ivoire are indeed subsidizing. And if you look at 2022, the price of LPG shot up very, very, very high in 2022, and that accounted for the drop we saw in consumption, a drop of about 13% from 2021 figures. And 2023, the price still remains very high, and that is why we are not able to reach the peak we had in 2021 and 2022. So obviously, there is a direct relationship between the price of the product and consumption. It's as simple as that. LPG is an elastic product. It's highly price sensitive. Any single peso you put on the price of LPG goes a long way to affect its consumption. And that is exactly what we are seeing. 2022 prices were skyrocketing. And that is why we dropped by 13%. And we have not, since then, the price came down a little bit, but we have not been able to bring it down to the level that we can match the consumption or improve the consumption, the good consumptions we had in 2020 and 2021, where prices were very, very low. So it will make a lot of sense for government to take up all taxes from LPG. And we are calling on the present government to take a good look at that if we really, really, really are serious at increasing consumption of LPG in Ghana. The talks are enough. We should act to increase consumption of LPG in Ghana. Because, if for nothing at all, there's population growth. Population is growing, but our consumption is rather going down. So nobody should deceive anybody that consumption of LPG has gone up. No, we don't see it that way at all. Because, like I said, the peak that we hit in 2020 and 2021, we are nowhere near it. And that should not be something that we should toy with. Consumption of LPG will still stay on the decline in Ghana.
Just a minute, but doesn't this at least give some hope about things maybe getting better towards next year? The fact that, we are seeing an improvement from 2022, which, of course, as you indicate, was not a very good year for LPG.
Well, let's see. This year, 2024, the prices did not come down as we expected. The prices are still very high. And the figures we are picking does not, especially the last quarter of this year, the figures we are picking doesn't indicate that we are going to have any growth in LPG consumption. But let's see what we are here to compare the last quarter figures, and then let's compare it with the previous years and see if we are doing, there's any growth in consumption. But for us, the only way we can accept that there is growth is when we are able to pass the levels we were in 2020 and 2021. Anything short of that, we will not describe that as growth. Because if 2020 you were doing 345,000 metric tons, and fast forward to 2023, you are doing 317,000 metric tons, and you think there is growth. We haven't gone far we didn't sit in the classroom for far too long, but we don't see this as growth. It's primary.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Gabriel Kumi, Vice Chairman, the LPG Marketers Association of Ghana. Also, congratulations on being elected to the board of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. Thank you. You're watching The Marketplace, next business and politics. And welcome to Business and Politics. Today, we want to talk about the politics of taxes. President-elect John Mahama has given strong indication of removal of some taxes. He says that will be key priority when he assumes office. Meantime, the current government trying to get Parliament to waive taxes of up to $350 million for 46 companies. Tax expert Francis Timobo joins me to discuss this. Good afternoon to you. Let's start with the tax waivers being pushed by the current government. That amounts to $350 million. The minority disagrees with this move. Your thoughts?
That is correct. Tax exemption at this, for me, is dangerous. $350 million, that is just like the IMF money that we've collected and we say we're going to give it to 46 companies. I do not think that the incoming government, it is good for them, especially when they have promised to give away some taxes. For me, they set money that they can save to, cover the tax laws that they are going to give away is tax exemption. I don't think that this particular exemption, looking at the quantum involved, it is a good idea to grant this tax exemption. At least let the new government settle and look at the pros and cons for this particular exemption. It is dangerous at this moment for our fiscal policy.
All right. The current government wants to settle. I mean, that's why the minority is pushing against this. But it has also got plans to remove some taxes when the president-elect finally assumes office in January. He's talked about removal of the COVID-19 levy. I mean, people have talked about this as a nuisance tax. He's talked about the e-levy. There's also talk about the betting tax. Do you agree with this move also to remove some taxes? At what cost and what are the repercussions for the economy?
So there, you see that a campaign message based on which the government obtained the power from the people.
Yeah.
I know that tax policies were largely some of the messages that they put across. You and I know that COVID-19, many Ghanaians have advocated that, look, we are no more under the pandemic, let it go. E-levy, let it go. Betting tax, let it go. And the government dwelt on this message and promised Ghanaians that when they come, they're going to take it off. They're going to take it off. So it's more like a social contract that Ghanaians are looking onto the government to take it away. And I don't believe that the government will act deceptive in order not to take it off. So people are expecting that this should go. The fact is that when this revenue goes away, 2025 alone, if you look at the budgeted numbers, over 6.4 billion cedis is going to go away for 2025. 2026 is close to 7.4 billion Ghana cedis, and 2028 about 8 billion cedis from these two taxes are going to go away. And that is the main reason why we're saying that tax exemption at this moment is not good. Indeed, if you read the manifesto of the incoming government, they promise that they're going to reconsider and revise the exemption regime. So if you're going to revise it, then why grant exemption at this moment when you've not even taken over? And trust me, the government has a lot of things to do, a lot of debts available. They said they want to widen the tax base. It is not done overnight. So they will be more cautious in granting tax exemption, especially for companies or entities that they believe that can pay. And maybe it's about time we need to sit down and recalculate the tax exemption as an investment. And if we're not getting the returns that we need from those investments, then we should cut it off. But the bottom line is that the taxes they want to scrap is going to lead to some revenue loss. The closest savings they can make is through the tax exemptions. And therefore, this particular $350 million that is very big. And I can only say it is just the IMF money they want to give to 46 companies. We need to redo the benefits very well before we proceed with this exemption.
Yeah, like you wonder how they're going to make up for revenue. They also talk about sealing the sealing leakages and plugging the loopholes in the system. We don't know how effective that is. If you were to advise the government on a tax policy, the new government, I mean, what reforms would you push?
The first thing is I will look at how I'm going to save money from the abolition of these taxes. So like I mentioned, my exemption is first one, the direct exemption from Parliament. I'll go to the port and see those exemptions that I can also minimize in order to balance the equation. Remember, the interest payment is just ahead of us. 2026, 2027, we're going to pay. Widening the taxes, blocking the leakages, this has stayed with us for quite a long time, and it cannot be done overnight. So I would have recommended that, look, consider where you think you can make savings, and let's continue to push for compliance. If you look at our tax to GDP, we're not doing enough. Some measures have been put in place, but we still have some challenges. So the expectation is that some reforms are expected in the tax administration system. But in all, Ghanaians are expecting that the social contract regarding the excessive taxes that they cried for, which this government promised to do, Ghanaians are expecting that to be done immediately they take office. And so they're going to need money anyway. So you just have to watch your fiscal space. What can you give out? And what can you also obtain? And some of them too, they are not overnight. It will take time to get the revenue needed, yet you have the interest expenses ahead of you. So it's really a critical movement for the incoming government. And I think that anything that talks about exemption, they need to consider it critically.
All right, critical moment for the government, and Ghanaians are really expecting that is true. Francis Timoboy, tax analyst, thank you so much for your time here on The Marketplace. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Go there for the day's latest stories. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.